This is episode 1 of Worldviews at Work. I'm host Claire here with expert Jonathan to talk about worldviews. So I'm just going to start by asking, what is a worldview?
That's a good question. So a worldview is an intellectual construction that we create of the world around us. And these are kind of like funny words, but basically what that's saying is how we in our head think about everything we go through in our day-to-day life. And a worldview, it's not an opinion, it's not something that we hold to or believe. Rather, it's what shapes our opinions and how it influences that. So a worldview in the human sense is going to typically stem from what benefits us most and what fits our lifestyle. And I think you can explore that a little bit more.
Yeah, so depending on how you grew up, if you grew up in a Christian home, how everybody at this school grew up, your worldview is centered around what we as Christians believe. But if you grew up in a broken home or a non-Christian home, your worldview is centered around basically whatever your parents believe, or just whatever is the majority of people that believe. So yeah, that's actually a really good segue into my next question, which is, why does knowing other people's worldview matter?
Yeah, that's really important, especially in a day and age where there are so many different worldviews, and every single one of us is going to look at the same thing in a completely different way. And a great way of looking at that is a pair of sunglasses. And sunglasses, you can have them in any different color, but ultimately you're going to be looking at the same thing, but in a completely different light than another person wearing a different pair of sunglasses. And that's a really important distinction to make, is that we all are sharing this world together, but our worldviews are going to differ wildly between people. And it's important to understand what worldview we attack this issue, or what worldview we expose this problem in the world with in our lives. And as Christians, we believe that worldviews come ultimately, whether they be secular, whether they be Islamic, whether they be Christian, they come to how we relate to our Creator. And as Christians, we relate to our Creator as sovereign, as holy, and that goes to show in how everything we do is to serve and honor our Creator. As opposed to that, you have a secular worldview, which is on the complete opposite side, where you don't relate to any Creator. And with that, you are left with just humanity. And that's why in this secular worldview, it is super human-centered, as humans are the problem and humans are the solution to all these different issues in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going back to that sunglasses analogy, I really like that, because it just shows how hard it is to tell somebody about the Christian worldview, because it's so hard to take off your friends, your non-Christian friend or whatever, their sunglasses, and tell them, this is how we're supposed to view the world. This is how God calls us to view the world. It's just so difficult, and all we can do is just pray and ask God to be with those people and show them the way that He views people. And just knowing other people's worldviews and being aware of what worldviews have a bigger influence on people can help you spot the truth from a lie. And yeah, so I have one more question for you today. So it's just that we see, why do we say environmentalism is a worldview, and what do they believe?
Mm-hmm. So that's really good, because the next episodes that we're going to be doing are about environmentalism, and ultimately it's a worldview. It's not some kind of opinion that gets set aside, but how you view the environment is how you view humanity. And that says so much about how you interact with every single thing in this world. And a good way of looking at this is looking in God's Word. And what He says about this, we read in Genesis 1, verses 27 and 28. It says, "So God created man in His own image. In the image of God created He him, male and female created He him. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth." And we see environmentalism as a worldview because that stands at the opposite side of what we believe, where they believe that humans are primarily polluters and consumers of Earth's resources, as opposed to humans being given authority and a responsibility over the world.
Yeah, and just looking back at verse 28, it's just saying how God calls us to be fruitful and multiply. And nowadays, environmentalists believe like that the world is going to be overpopulated, and euthanasia is really popular along with getting an abortion. And just as Christians, we believe that God tells us, He commands us to be fruitful and multiply, so we know that that is wrong, and that the earth has just the right amount of resources, and just the right amount for us to live in and take care of the world just the way that God wanted us to. So that's all I have for today. Thank you so much. That's all.